Howdy, this is Lemmy with RevZilla TV, here to talk to you today about the Mustang Summit Seat for Harley Touring. You should be looking into a Summit seat if you simply need the absolute best seat on the market for your touring rig. These things are currently being made for touring bikes, but with a little bit of a twist. These are only going to fit on Rushmore touring bikes, so 14 and newer. Those of you guys on road glides, 15 and newer, because you didn't have one in 14. That's really all this seat is designed to fit. Mustang designed this thing from the ground up. Installation on this, like most seats, is going to be a one bearder. Typically on our BSD, our beard scale of difficulty, one beard indicates a very easy seat install. This one may be a little more difficult, especially if you opt to jump in with some of the accoutrements that come with such a seat, like a backrest or perhaps the heated version of this thing. So let's get right into this thing. We'll tear it all apart and we'll find out why this seat costs as much as some terrible motorcycles. The Mustang Summit Seat, realistically speaking, is the exact same thing as their Super Touring seat or the Super Heated Touring seat, depending on which one you wind up going with. The difference between that seat and this one is this was created ground up for Rushmore bikes. A lot of the other seat manufacturers adapted their existing models to work with the old touring frame and the new touring frame. Mustang didn't do that. They redesigned a separate line explicitly for Rushmore bikes. So that means you're going to get an 1 3/4 backward movement on this thing. Those of you who need to move around a little bit on your touring bike, you're going to get that. That's going to be harder to do for some of the other manufacturers who haven't designed a seat pan specifically around that motorcycle. What else does that mean? It also means that the passenger seat on here is configured for the Ultra Glide speakers. Those of you who do have rear speaks, this is going to blend seamlessly with them. That may not be the case on some other older seat models that have been sort of reworked to work with your newer Rushmore bikes. Those of you who are on a Rushmore bike, you spent a pile of money on them. They are a primo touring motorcycle. Why not put the best on there? You can see on here we have the optional backrest on this puppy. For those of you who are not familiar with Mustang's style of backrest, these things are absolutely great. They're made to match the seat. You can see here these detents back here. This is a totally toolless installation and removal. The removal you just saw me do here is the exact same one you will do in your garage. These are very easy to get on and off. So if you're going on a short jaunt, it's easy to pop the backrest off, leave it at home. You can see here these detents in the back here. This is all you need for height adjustment. You have a couple different height options here. You can also see here too this thumb wheel on the back. This is going to let you adjust the pitch of this seat when it's in here. Installation is just as easy. You line this puppy up, put it back into the receiver on this particular seat. You'll locate the receiver, which is built into the seat, click down into whatever detent you like for height, and you're set to ride. It really is a nice system for those of you who are not familiar with the Mustang series of backrests. One of the other cool things about the Summit too is this backrest is actually specific to the Summit. They re-engineered the backrest for this thing too. So for those of you who are riding around on a Rushmore bike, you dumped a bunch of money on that bike. And it's really nice that Mustang has designed a saddle specifically for that thing. Rather than trying to save a couple bucks and make something work that may or may not work, they really went ground up on this thing. I think it shows a lot of due diligence on Mustang's part. So let's yank this saddle out of here and we'll talk a little bit about the actual beauty part of this seat. You can see here this cover, marine grade vinyl, like all the Mustang saddles. This stuff holds up great. It looks fantastic for a long time. Does a great job repelling weather and the elements. Marine grade vinyl that Mustang uses really is just top notch as far as actual practical usage for a seat. You can see here this thing is equipped with studs. This is available plain or studded, so regardless of how your style rolls, you can get something that's gonna, it's gonna blend well with your bike. Those of you guys on Road Kings, you probably are gonna consider something a little more traditional like a studded look, and those of you who opt for something a little plainer on a more modern bike like a Street Glide probably look for the plain model on that thing. Again, just a style choice, but I imagine most of you will gravitate sort of down those two roads. You may also be able to see over here too, this is the heated version of this seat. This thing, dual temp zones as well as dual intensity. So you and your passenger can have heat on or off separate of each other, and you can have it at 2 different settings. Nobody better tell my wife about this or I'll be getting a divorce sometime soon. Flipping over to speak about construction and a little more on that heating, you'll notice here wiring. This thing already has a Deutsch plug wired right into it. This plugs into your factory accessory port underneath your seat. That's really, really nice because it means you're not going to do any cutting and wiring. Remember how I talked about that one beard install? This is what keeps it there. It's a little bit more difficult to install a heated seat, but again, if you can plug something in, you're pretty much most of the way there. Fiberglass base paint on this puppy, like so many of the Mustang saddles, really does hold up well. This is something that's going to last with you. You're going to have your touring bike for a little while, and you're going to have a seat that goes the run with it. It's going to go the long haul. This is not going to be a seat you're going to be replacing down the road. This thing is built to last. You can see here the cover is riveted on here, aluminum rivets on here, nothing to rust. Riveting really is a great way to keep the cover on the pan. It's going to keep it looking nice and tight and taut at all times. You're not going to get that saggy cover look that some cheaper seats can exhibit. The final thing about this that I think is pretty awesome, these rubber bumpers that Mustang uses all over the place. The nice thing about the rubber bumpers, they kind of serve two purposes. First, they help sort of isolate you from some road vibrations. Much like your engine is rubber mounted, this sort of rubber mounts your butt. It's great to keep vibrations from working through the seat and working your body over. The other thing they do too is help to protect your paint in conjunction with this little carpeted patch back here. What these are going to do is minimize paint damage. Again, any saddle sitting on a fender is going to affect the paint in some form or fashion. This really does minimize any possible damage done. So those of you who like to rock a solo seat from time to time, you're going to be able to, because this stuff is going to leave your bike looking good. So now with respect to installation, I had mentioned it's a one beard install, and it really should be for most of you. If you can find that accessory port underneath your seat, shouldn't be difficult for anybody. Plug that puppy in if you do opt for the heated version of this seat, and then you're really just going to use that one point of attachment at the rear. You've got a tongue to slide in at the front. At the rear, you're going to use one tool in order to throw this thing on your motorcycle. And again, we discussed the toolless installation of the backrest. That shouldn't bear much discussion, but most of you should be out riding around this thing within 10 or 15 minutes. Really is a pretty cake job to install one of these. If you get in trouble though, leave me a comment down in the YouTube section, comment section, or you can also leave a comment on our common tread area of the website. I do monitor those areas, so if you're having trouble with installation, get in touch with me. I want to get you out there on the road. This thing's a Cadillac seats. There's no two ways about it. This is an absolutely awesome seat. It is the cream of the crop for those of you who are on a very nice touring bike. My opinion is not the only one that matters though. Click below, check out what some other riders who've already got one of these on their bike have to say about it. If you've got questions that I didn't touch on in the video, get in touch with one of our geeks. See us at RevZilla.com. You can always get us by phone, 877-792-9455. I'm Lemmy, I'm out of here.